No, right now my main focus is MAGSAYO. I know he's ready and he's going to bring his best. But God willing, we get past him injury free. If I could make two fights that I would want to happen, I would want Gervonta Tank Davis and I would want Lomachenko. One that is willing to step into the ring and work his way up the rankings to challenge me for my world title. Gervonta Tank Davis, he's not in a rush. Or maybe Floyd Mayweather, Leonard Ellerbe, none of them guys are not in a rush of putting him in the ring with me. You know, I'd rather focus on a true warrior, a true gladiator, someone that's willing to put it all on the line and bring their physical best. That's smart.
What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Blue Blood Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So what you just heard was the longest reigning champion in the sport of boxing currently as it stands in Mr. Gary Russell Jr., WBC super featherweight world champion, superstar boxer, Mr. Gary Russell Jr. Gary Russell Jr. has a fight coming up, and this is January 22nd. Gary Russell Jr. has a fight coming up in New Jersey, in Atlantic City, against Mark Magsayo. I struggle to pronounce his name. Gary Russell Jr., 31 wins, 1 loss, no draws, 18 wins by way of knockout, 5'4.5" with a 64-inch arm reach. He's 33 years of age. So he has a fight coming up with Mark Magsayo, who is a Manny Pacquiao fighter who is undefeated. It's 23 wins, no loss, and no draws, 16 wins by way of knockout, 26 years of age, 5'6" with a 68-inch arm reach. So he's 2 inches taller than Gary Russell. He has a 4-inch arm reach advantage over Gary Russell, and he's 7 years younger than Mr. Gary Russell Jr. He's from the Philippines. He's a Manny Pacquiao fighter. So with that said, obviously in the sport of boxing, we're always looking ahead to what's next in the sport of boxing. We have a hard time focusing on what's right in front of us. So everybody wants to know what's next in the sport of boxing, and for a guy of Gary Russell Jr.'s status, everybody's interested to know what's next for Gary Russell Jr., seeing as though Gary Russell Jr. has been inactive, and Gary Russell Jr. has been fighting once a year. And a guy of his talent, who's a southpaw, who has very fast hands, who's very skilled, who is highly sought to be one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the world. You want to see him in the ring and more active, more so than he is, okay? He fought once in 2015. He fought once in 2016. He fought once in 2017, once in 2018, once in 2019, once in 2020, and now we're in 2022. Okay, so the last time he fought was February of 2022. So 2020. So we're going into nearly February of 2022, and Gary Russell Jr. has been out the ring for almost 2 years. Okay, he would be removed out the ring for a week. 1 week would separate him from being out the ring for 2 years. Now there's talks of Gary Russell Jr. possibly facing off against undefeated 3-division world champion superstar boxer Gervonta Tank Davis, who's 26 wins, no losses, no draws, 24 wins by way of knockout, 27 years of age, 5'5" with a 67-inch arm reach. They're both from the DMV area. Gary Russell is from DC. Gervonta Tank Davis is from Baltimore. So they're both from the DC area. And there's a natural rivalry. Gary Russell, Tank Davis is a southpaw who has a lot of power, and Gary Russell Jr., has been calling for this fight against Gervonta Tank Davis for quite some time, okay? And now he wants it, okay? He wants to face off against Gervonta Tank Davis, and there's reports and rumors that Gary Russell and Gervonta Tank Davis could be next, okay? That Gary Russell Jr. and Gervonta Tank Davis could possibly strike a deal. But we know that, it all boils down to, like Gary Russell Jr. just stated, as you heard him call out Gervonta Tank Davis, it all boils down to Gervonta Tank Davis's promoter and managers, Mayweather Promotions, Floyd Mayweather, and Leonard Ellerbe, CEO of Mayweather Promotions. Gary Russell stated that they're not in a rush to make the fight. Now, there's reports that in the spring or in the summertime, we could see Gary Russell Jr. versus Gervonta Tank Davis, okay? And so with that said, Gary Russell responds to it, and he says they're not in a rush. He says that Gervonta Tank Davis is not a true champion. Okay, he's not a true warrior. And so he's going to face who's in front of him right now, MAGSAYO. And he's going to face him, defeat him. He said, once I get past him, my focus is to get in the ring with Gervonta Tank Davis, or to get my get back against Olympic two-time gold medalist, 3-division world champion, unified lightweight world champion, Ukrainian superstar boxer Vasily Lomachenko, who, oddly enough, is the only guy to beat Mr. Gary Russell Jr. Okay, so they fought, and Lomachenko is the one that put the blemish, the one loss on his resume. Gary Russell Jr., he wants to get that get back. He lost to Vasily Lomachenko back in 2014. Oddly enough, that's the last time he fought twice in a year, was 2014. He fought and lost to Vasily Lomachenko, and he fought Christopher Martin in December of that year, and then that started his slide to fighting once a year. Okay, so with that said, this is a huge fight. You could put this in the DC area. If you want to state that Gervonta Tank Davis is a superstar in the sport of boxing, and you want to say that Gervonta Tank Davis, is a true pound for pound king, these are the fights that Gervonta Tank Davis needs. Okay, we need to see Gervonta Tank Davis in the ring with the Gary Russell Jr. You want to see Gervonta Tank Davis in the ring with Vasily Lomachenko. Now you got Vasily Lomachenko calling out Gary Russell Jr. You have Gary Russell Jr. consistently and persistently calling out, Gervonta Tank Davis. And Gervonta Tank Davis is fighting the likes of Isaac Pitbull Cruz. This is no slight to Isaac Pitbull Cruz, who put up a valiant effort against, Gervonta Tank Davis. A shocking effort. Most people were surprised by the success that Isaac Cruz had against Gervonta Tank Davis. But with that said, it's talks about now. We initially, Gervonta Tank Davis was supposed to fight Rolando Rolly Romero, 14 wins, no loss and no draws, 12 wins by way of knockout. 26 years of age, 5'8" with a 69-inch arm reach. But again, Rolando Rolly Romero has proven nothing in his career. And then serious alleged allegations against Rolando Rolly Romero saw him pull from the fight, and saw Isaac Pitbull Cruz, 22 wins, 1 loss, and a draw with 15 wins by way of knockout, replace Rolando Rolly Romero. Isaac Cruz is 23 years of age, 5'3" with a 63-inch arm reach. So to see him replace, Rolando Rolly Romero, fans weren't happy to see that. Fans want to see the absolute best face off against the absolute best, especially at this stage of Gervonta Tank Davis's career. He's 27 years of age, right? So you want to see him in with the absolute best. We know the talent that he possesses, okay? But everybody knows that Gervonta Tank Davis is viewed as the cash cow. He's the man to beat from junior welterweight on down, okay? He is the pay-per-view star. Like Leonard Ellaby tells the world, he's a star, he's a superstar, he's the cash cow, he brings in all the money. So everybody wants to see now at this stage in his career, with Gervonta Tank Davis being 27 years of age, you don't want to see Gervonta Tank Davis in with the Isaac Cruzes and the Rolando Rolly Romeros, okay? Just like we don't want to see Gary Russell Jr. in light against guys that we know that 9 times out of 10 he's going to be successful in. Same goes for Vasily Lomachenko. Same goes for everybody in the sport of boxing. Once you get to a certain level, it's the same that everybody wants to see with Saul Canelo Alvarez. Okay, it's the same knock on him. It's the same knock that Jamal Charlo has. Is that you want to see them once they get to a certain level, once they get to a certain age and a certain point in their career, you want to see them fight the absolute best there is to offer. You don't want to see these guys in fights that are 80-20 fights or 70-30 fights, and you pretty much can predict the outcome of the fight. No. Yes, to many people's surprise, Isaac Cruz put up a much more valiant effort than expected. But at the end of the day, you want to see them in tough. You want to see them in with the absolute best there is to offer. And you don't want to see mismatches, okay? So Gervonta Tank Davis, Yes, he fought the likes of 4-division world champion Mexican superstar boxer Leo Santa Cruz, the most established and accomplished fighter he's fought in his career. Now, Gary Russell Jr. will be available. They're both under PBC, Premier Boxing Champions. They both were founder and advisor Al Heyman. This should be an easy fight to make. They both on Showtime and Fox, okay? So this should be a relatively easy fight to make. The storyline is big. They're both from the DMV area. They're both southpaws. They're both, not the biggest guys in the world, but they're both very, very talented with high ring IQs. These are the fights that you want to see Gervonta Tank Davis and Mr. Gary Russell Jr. in. So Gary Russell Jr. calls out Gervonta Tank Davis. Gervonta Tank Davis broke his left hand in the 6th round in the fight with Isaac Cruz. So we have to see when he's going to bounce back. And most importantly, we got to see Gary Russell get past Mark MAGSAYO this January 22nd in New Jersey, Atlantic City. So let's see how this unfolds and plays out. But that's all I got for y'all. Make sure you hit the like button. Drop a comment in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think. Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy Blue Blood Sports TV. Hate, like, comment, and subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button. Hit the bell icon to get all the new notifications. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, all one word. Y'all already know what it is. Shout out to the entire LDBC. Shout out to New Media. Shout out to Black Media Row. Make sure you like and share these videos. That's all I got for y'all. Peace.